All right, Mike, thank you very, very much. Now, we don't know what any of this means or portends trouble for Mrs. Clinton. Way too early to say. But obviously, just the idea of a presidential candidate having to testify under oath, perhaps weeks before her big convention, well, let's say problematic. To attorney Emily Compagno on the impact this could have on the campaign. Emily, good to have you. What do you think of that, the oddity of that? What does it present?
I think it's going to be quite interesting. And note this, the reaction from Hillary's camp thus far, as Ed just mentioned, was in part, this is a criminal, he's not to be believed. They've also, in response to Judge Sullivan approving the discovery order, said, basically, well, we're going to focus on the Department of Justice, the independent investigation. We don't have use for these right-wing, politically motivated lawsuits. But note, these lawsuits, these FOIA, Freedom of Information Act lawsuits, are what had Hillary affirm under oath that she had turned over every work email. It's also what led to the 55,000 plus emails being released by the State Department. So there is paramount potential here for there to be a tremendous impact both on this issue in general as well as her campaign.
You know, when a judge says, you know, I think it might be a good idea just to talk to Mrs. Clinton, to hear her out, what does that signify? Now, it doesn't necessarily mean anything untoward. What is he seeking?
He specifically cited the narrow purpose of this lawsuit, which is to determine the adequacy of the State Department's search for these documents in response to that original FOIA request. He then said, look, it is necessary in answering that question to explore the creation, purpose, and use of this private server through this limited discovery of all of these depositions. So you're right, it's not a witch hunt, it's garnering more information, but he was quite explicit about the fact of who those depositions need to be with and why.
You know, when I had a chance to look at just the political fallout from this, because we don't know, for example, Bernie Sanders speaking, I believe him in West Virginia right now, the site of a big primary next week. His wife, Jane Sanders, was telling me, without taking sides on the issue, just get it resolved already. I want you to react to this.
There's a process. It's going forward. It's an FBI investigation. We want to let it go through without politicizing it, and then we'll find out what the situation is. And that's how we still feel. I mean, it would be nice if the FBI moved it along.
All right. Now, what she was saying there is neither me nor my husband are going to make this an issue, but this does cast a pall over this whole campaign. Just resolve it already. Is it your sense that it all explodes right before the convention, after the convention? What?
Well, it should, because remember, the judge set a 2-month deadline with this specific discovery plan. So if we stick to that, then that means that Hillary could be potentially deposed within the next 8 weeks, which would be just in time for that. And remember, in terms of the DOJ investigation, the IT State Department staffer that created and monitored her private email server, he's been cooperating with the DOJ and has been granted immunity. So there's two parallel paths that have been going on. So sure, the FBI might be taking their time, but there's definitely a shorter timeline happening with this particular lawsuit.
All right, Emily, so many different angles in this and different fronts all at the same time. Thank you for making sense of it.